Today, we're going to be installing Libreboot on a KCMA-D8 server motherboard. The first thing you're going to need is the KCMA-D8 motherboard. There are two revisions of this motherboard, 1.02 and 1.03. In this video, I'll be using the revision 1.03. Both of these revisions are compatible with Libreboot. However, not all models of the KCMA-D8 are compatible with Libreboot, and I'll show you what I mean. On Libreboot's website, they give you two ways to identify which KCMA board is compatible with Libreboot. The first way is to look at the serial number, which is located on the 24-pin ATX power connector. Now I'm going to show you that in a little bit, but first I need to explain. KCMAs that are produced on September of 2011 or newer are compatible with Libreboot, and this is because those versions of the KCMA are able to run 4200 series Opterons, which is required in order for Libreboot to run. Any older version of the KCMA is not compatible with Libreboot because they only run 4100 series CPUs, in which Libreboot cannot boot with those CPUs. So you're going to need a KCMA that was made in September of 2011 or newer. And to identify that, we need to look at the 4 digits of the serial number, which is B9S2 and newer. B representing the year, which is 2011, and 9 representing the month, which in this case is September. The second way is to look at the BIOS version, which is located next to the CPU slot 1. We are going to be looking at the last 4 digits. BIOS versions with the number 2001 or higher are also compatible with Libreboot, and they are compatible for the same reasons as mentioned before. I'm also going to be showing you where this is located. The first way to identify is to look at the serial number, which is located by the 24-pin ATX power connector, which is up here, and behind it there locates a sticker which holds the serial number. So we need to look there. So I zoomed in to the back of the 24-pin ATX power connector. As you can see, there's a sticker right here, and this number right here is the serial number. You're going to be looking at the first 2 characters, and you're going to be looking for B9. B representing the year, 2011, and 9 representing the month, which is September. As you can see, I have E2. E is after B, which means this KCMA is newer, which means my KCMA is compatible with Libreboot. The second way to identify is to locate the BIOS version, and that is located by CPU slot 1. Here's the first CPU, slot 1 right here, and there's a sticker located right here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'm going to zoom in soon. So we're going to look deeper into this sticker right here. So I zoomed in. As you can see, here's the BIOS version. You need to look for these 4 numbers right here, and you're looking for 2001 or higher. Those versions are compatible with Libreboot. In my case, I have 3102, so my motherboard is definitely compatible. So when looking for a KCMA-D8, make sure it's compatible with Libreboot. The KCMA is also a little bit wider than a standard ATX motherboard, so make sure your case is able to support it. The next thing you're going to need is a processor. I'm going to be using the Opteron 4228HE, which is a high efficiency 6-core 6-thread CPU. Now it says on Libreboot's website that you're able to use the 6300 series CPUs, for Libreboot now adds microcode updates to the new ROMs. However, I have not tried a 6300 series CPU myself, so I can't guarantee that it'll work. And if you want to use a 6300 series CPU, you need to install a newer version of Libreboot, which I have tried and failed, for the computer wouldn't boot and I just couldn't get it to work. So in this video, I'm going to be installing the 2016 version of Libreboot, which I have installed and it have got to work. However, you can only use the 6200 series CPUs, so I recommend getting that. The next thing you're going to need is RAM. Now, RAM seems to be the biggest culprit in why most Libreboot compatible machines don't boot, and it's probably the reason why my KCMA couldn't boot with a newer version of Libreboot. So it's important to get the right stick of RAM for your machine. Now, I have installed the 2016 version of Libreboot, and I have gotten these sticks of RAM to work, listed on the screen. I'm going to be using the Hynix stick of RAM in this video. If you want RAM that has a higher chance of working with your KCMA, I recommend this stick of RAM. So the KCMA-D8 comes with a server heatsink, one of those flat ones in which it doesn't keep the CPU very cool, and the fan that comes with it gets very loud, so it's not the best heatsink. Now my particular KCMA does not come with a heatsink at all, so I wanted to add my own heatsink. However, I didn't want to add a server one. So what I have here is one of my leftover AMD heatsinks. This is for the AM3 Plus socket, and I want to attach this heatsink to my KCMA. Problem is I can't do that, for the KCMA only has these two screw holes right here, in which I need like an adapter or a bracket in order to install it. So what I have here are brackets that I got on eBay. I paid about $20, so they allow me to attach any modern heatsink to the KCMA. They go simply as like that in the holes, line them up. You go ahead and put the screws in, so they attach. And now I can add the heatsink that I want onto the KCMA. So I recommend getting these brackets. They're going to allow you to use a lot of different heatsinks that you want. You can even add 140mm fan heatsinks. The first thing we need to do is locate the IKVM module. That will be located to the bottom left of the motherboard. The IKVM will be located in this black socket right here. So the module looks like what is shown on the screen. That is the IPMI IKVM module, and we need to remove this for the Libreboot. We will not boot with it on. And it also adds a backdoor similar to the Intel Management Engine, and it requires proprietary firmware in order to run. So we're going to go ahead and remove this. To remove it, go ahead and simply grab it and gently pull it out of its socket, and it should come right out. As you can see, I don't have one. If you do have one, go ahead and remove it. If you don't have one, then you're ready for the next step. Go ahead and put the computer together. When installing the CPU, make sure to gently close the socket, for we don't want to break any pins. Go ahead and install the RAM, and make sure to clean the CPU and heatsink before adding thermal paste. Now we can install the RAM. Make sure you have the right configuration for the setup that you have. I have one CPU with 2 DIMM sticks, so I'm going to be putting the DIMM sticks in slot DIMM A2 and slot DIMM B2. The BIOS chip is located to the bottom of the motherboard. To remove the BIOS chip, you can get a tool like a chip extractor, but I don't have one of those tools. So what I use is I'm using a needle and plier. I went ahead and bought some heat shrink, which is like this tubing, soft tubing that you can wrap around. And I made my own soft tips for the pliers so that I can softly pull out the chip. So you can use needle nose pliers, just be very careful because this can damage the chip. Just grab it firmly, not too tightly, and just go ahead and pull it out. So the programmer I'm going to be using is a CH34NA mini programmer. I paid about $13 on Amazon for this, and it's very cheap, readily available, and I had no errors or issues using this tool to flash Libreboot onto the BIOS chip. So go ahead and lift the lever on the CH34NA, grab your BIOS chip, see the notch on the BIOS chip, make sure it's facing to the back of the CH34NA, go ahead and drop it in, pull the lever down. This will lock the BIOS chip onto the CH34NA, and you should be good to go, ready for the next step. Alright, go ahead and plug in the CH34NA to your computer. Once it's plugged in, we can go ahead and install FlashROM. FlashROM is the program we're going to need in order to flash the new Libreboot BIOS and to back up the old BIOS. And go ahead and install it. For me, I already installed it, so now I'm going to the next step. Let's go ahead and back up the old BIOS. Type the command sudo space flashrom -- programmer ch34na _ spi -r and name the file. I'm going to name it backup.bin, for that is the old BIOS, and I'm going to name it backup. It's going to be reading the chip off the ch34na. Alright, and once it's done, we can do a SHA-256 sum to verify the hash. Alright, and let's compare this to others, so we could do it again. Let's back up the ROM again. I'm gonna name it this time backup 2. Go ahead and do it again. Alright, now let's verify the hash against this backup to make sure we're getting a good read. Looks like we are. I normally do it twice. You can do it a third time if you want to. I'm only going to do it twice. And clear, and now we can move on to the next step. Now we're actually going to flash Libreboot onto the KCMA. Go ahead and CD into the folder where the Libreboot BIOS is at. And type the command sudo flashrom -- programmer ch34na _ spi -w and then the KCMA ROM. In this case, I'll be installing 2016 Libreboot. You can install whatever version you want to install. Go ahead and hit enter and let it do its thing. Once you see the word verified, your job is done and you have officially installed Libreboot onto your BIOS chip. Alright, so go ahead and remove the CH34NA from your computer. Go ahead and lift this lever and release the BIOS chip and take it off. Now to put it back onto the KCMA, see the notch is to the left. Make sure the notch matches with the notch on the socket. When you get close, you'll see it. In this case, it's on the left. So left notch with left notch. And you go ahead, lay it on there, and go ahead and push it in. And it's back on. If you want to use a graphics card on this motherboard, go ahead and locate the VGA controller jumpers, which are located to the bottom left of the motherboard, as shown on screen. So the VGA controller jumpers are located right here. It says right here on the side of the motherboard, VGA. So that's where it'll be located. And you're gonna move this top one right here. So go ahead and take it off with your hands. just like that. And now move it over to the other side, simply as this, like that. And you go ahead and push it down, just like that. Now you can use a graphics card on a KCMA. Once you are ready, go ahead and build your computer, turn on the power supply, and turn on your computer. Libreboot will take about 1 minute to boot, but once it does, it should boot straight into your operating system with no problems and no errors. Looks like we are booting into Linux, so that means the process was successful. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them as soon as I can. If you are interested in getting your own Libreboot or core booted machine without going through the hassle of installing it yourself, check out my eBay store where I sell pre-installed Libreboot and core booted ThinkPads and desktops. If you like what you see in this channel, stick around for more content like this.